The sixth and final piece of evidence used to demonstrate the Santa mushroom connection is those holiday cards that I showed earlier, and I know that we're all familiar with these, or most of us certainly are. Now, it's interesting psychologically how this happens. We hear from a friend that Santa Claus is based off Siberian shamanic Amanita Muscaria usage, and so intrigued, we Google it. And this is what happens. We get a whole lot of results, and even Joe Rogan agrees. And we all then move to Google Images, and boom, we're awash with a sea of red and white, right? But take a closer look. Beyond this ocean of red and white, none of the original images with mushrooms actually have Santa Claus on them, right? Look, the only ones so this one has Santa and a mushroom, but this has been spliced together. This one has Santa and a mushroom, but this one's spliced together. This one's just all mushrooms. This is mushrooms without Santa, and this one's mushrooms without Santa. You see what's happening? It's a psychological thing. We're convincing ourselves of this because when we just do a simple Google image search, the whole thing just washes over us and it confirms our biases. Let's take a closer look. None of these, besides that fact, let's zero in on this one we saw earlier, which has been used time and time again as proof of this connection between the mushroom and Santa Claus. But you see down here where it says Glückig Neuer? That doesn't say Merry Christmas. That says Happy New Year. Here's our punchline. None of these are Christmas cards. They're all New Year cards. They have nothing to do with Christmas at all. So if you look at them, not a single one actually features Santa Claus, reindeer, or any other Christmas trimmings. You know, you could try to find one. I've looked high and low for one that has Santa. None of them actually is. There's no authentic image, like there's no authentic postcard from this time that has Santa Claus and a mushroom on it. The only reason we think that they exist is because of this effect. This is how we fool ourselves with one easy click. Now, looking at some of the earliest cards, we get more clues as to what they actually represent. See here, we have these elf fellows and mushrooms and pigs. Right? But when we look at later cards, we see that we have the pigs, of course, we have the mushrooms, but now we have four-leaf clovers and horseshoes. They're not on any of the earlier Germanic cards. So where did they come from? Well, back in 1909, some people were still wondering. At a congressional meeting that year, Francis Hamilton addressed the issue directly while discussing tariffs. It is here where the true history of the great Amanita Muscaria postcard mystery unfolds. Taking the floor, Hamilton spoke, saying, "The German postcard manufacturer suddenly realized that the demand for postcards was greater in the United States than in any other country. The result of all this activity was that for a long time, the German and Austrian manufacturers were the only ones producing cards in this country. The American manufacturer secured a small foothold by reason of the fact that he knew American ideas and produced cards to meet these ideas. While in Europe, and especially Germany and Austria, the cards were printed with pictures of pigs and mushrooms, these being considered lucky omens, as horseshoes and four-leaf clovers are with us, and while at first foreign manufacturers sent us cards of pigs and mushrooms, the significance of which we did not know, they now print those cards especially for the American market with horseshoes, hollies, and four-leaf clovers. In fact, the American trade is so important to the European manufacturer that certain factories are printing no cards except those for the American market. And some factories have their entire output sold for an entire year to some one importer." And there you have it. The mushrooms that appear in early 20th century New Year postcards have nothing to do with Siberian shamanism, reindeer, flying or otherwise, or even Santa Claus himself. the good luck pig, the Glückschwein, and the fly agaric, the Fliegen are symbols of Glücksspringer, which is an old German custom of good fortune where you would exchange small little good luck charms and gifts and such. So yes, there are Amanita muscaria mushrooms on these cards, but no one at the time ever associated them with Santa Claus's costumes or any form of psychedelia at all. Now, as to why the mushroom was considered lucky in Germany, no one actually knows that. That thread's been lost. But I think personally that it's possible, at least with the mushroom, that it was considered lucky because of its psychoactive effects. Like if you're on your way to a party in Germany and you stumble across, a cache of Amanita muscaria and you pick up, well, it's going to be a much better party because you're going to have mushrooms now. So we see some evidence for this, as it turns out, among the Kochelia people in southern Yugoslavia, who tell a particular story about the Germanic god Odin, who on one Christmas Eve found himself fleeing through a forest on his horse while a bunch of devils were close behind. And as his horse was galloping, the spit that fell from the horse's mouth, where it hit the ground, Amanita muscaria would grow. So those people, they refer to it as the flesh of Odin, and they put it in their New Year's and holiday drinks, their beers and their wines. I think that there's a very good explanation for the striking postcards and the mushrooms that feature them, which have to do with the deep roots of the pagan psychedelic experience. And here I'm speaking about the fairy realms. In the deep and broad range of European pagan beliefs dealing with fairies, elves, and other magically fun creatures, the Amanita muscaria was a way to access these realms. And we know this because a guy named Jean de Nienold wrote in 1619, he wrote a book about lycanthropy and magic, so werewolfism and magic, and said that one of the ways people achieved these feats was by using what I believe, he calls it the sleepy mushroom. I believe he's talking about the Amanita muscaria. Now, I don't know personally if recognition of the Amanita muscaria's psychoactive properties is the basis for why it was considered lucky in Germany. But let's just say I'm right, and it was. We are thousands of miles away from Siberian shamanism.